Rajat, like always, truly a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. This is the 20th year of Pan-IIT. You were the first chair. You're the chair now. You mentioned early in the morning that you'll be passing on the baton to other people. It's become a great organization. I have been involved since 2007. I have nothing but very, very high regard for what it produces and what IITians have typically done. And we have seen, how this was acknowledged yesterday at the US Capitol Hill. So your take on, I know it's difficult to put everything together in 20 years, but still, you are the man.
No, I think, of course, it has come a long way, but I do think that we have a very, very long way to go upwards. So I think this is just the beginning. I do believe that the basic DNA of the organization is very good. People come to it for the right reasons. We have the right set of values. The idea to help establish the brand of IITs globally is a noble one. We all have a stake in it. That's important. Then overall, we have a great responsibility to help the young, which is very important, that as new generations of IITians come up, that we help them navigate this competitive, complex world, not only in the US but globally. So I think our mission is very important. We are well on our way, but long way to go. I think you have to remember that India and IITs represent an extraordinary resource, not only for the country but for the world. And that is clearly exemplified especially in this country, where so many IITians have called home and are making a great contribution.
Great organizations grow and thrive based on their value system and how they inculcate that value system in the newer generation that comes into its fold. I think Pan-IIT has done an amazing job of that. 20 years later, I still see that happening, and newer people have taken the mantle of leadership, do this for the labor of love. And that is very important. That's something that I think we should learn as a leadership lesson.
Sure, I completely agree with you. I think, as I, in my opening remarks, talked about what are the real characteristics of a community, an effective community. And I call Pan-IIT as kind of a movement rather than just an organization. This is the expression of India's value system of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So it's like saying we, in a microcosm of IITs, we are all one family, and now there are 23 IITs. So it's a very important thought that we have a sort of shared values, a common culture, etc. The second thing I think is very important, that we have a way to resolve differences, and not that everybody thinks the same way, but one of the things that I've seen in the board and in general is that we have differences, but we have a way of resolving them, and we have a very let's say friendly way of resolving them. This is doesn't create huge conflicts. I think the most important thing I do believe is to concentrate on the young people coming up. And one of the reasons I firmly believe is that one has to have not only a shared leadership, but you have to keep moving on, and new generations need to come up and take on the task of leading the organization, which is happening now.
Value systems are built with strong characters, and characters aren't built in a day or two. It takes a long time, sometimes lifelong. And when you look at the characteristics of people who have been leading Pan-IIT, it's amazing. So where I'm trying to take you is back to India, to the IIT days, to the families where we all come from. This has to be inculcated right from that age through different experiences. I just wanted your take on, since we are at this conference, the role of IITs and the inclusivity of the organizations, and if you may, the input of the familial influence there.
So I think, as you would remember, one of the the distinguishing characteristics of IITs is that it's a very intense residential experience where you live together, and you, by the dint of this togetherness, have a shared set of experiences and therefore a shared set of values in many ways. So our heritage itself is conducive to that. I think one of the things we've been able to do in Pan-IIT is to forget the boundaries between which IIT, although we have healthy competition in that, but to say that we are in this together. Nobody in this country asks you, they ask you, are you from IIT? Nobody says, are you from Delhi IIT? Or, I mean, I'm talking about the population in general and the leadership in general. So we are really one identity, and therefore our common DNA, our common shared experience in growing through the IITs stands us in very good stead for a shared culture, which I believe we have.
And finally, then, Rajat, is passing the baton to the next leadership, whether it's Pan-IIT or across the board. Indians have done so amazingly well, as you know, whether you're from IIT or not, but specifically with the IIT ecosystem. But I think this is the age and the century of India's prominence on the world stage. It took us a long time, but I think we were ready for a long time. All those things have to come together, and the timing has to be right. So this is where I think India is going to be the next superpower. Some of the essential ingredients that you think make India what it is, and what it has to keep doing to grow at the same pace?
I think our most significant asset is our human resources. We are the largest nation in the world in terms of population. We have an extraordinary amount of technical talent in India, and in the future there will be nobody who can come close to us in being able to produce the sheer numbers of technical talent, and I mean very broadly in almost every field. So in that sense, we have to properly harness it. So the issue in India is not so much whether we have the talent, we do have it, is to properly nurture it, to properly train it, educate it, and let them free. And I think the current leadership of the country understands that and does it well in many ways. The IIT system is growing in the way it should, because for many years it stayed at the same amount while the country was growing. So it needs to grow, and I am very optimistic about India, and as everybody says, India rising, India's century coming up. So I look forward to it, and I hope I live to see some of those successes.
We wish you all the health and a very long life. You have been an amazing contributor, not just to India, but to the globe. And I'm in awe of you every time I meet you. Thank you for all the things that you have done. Really appreciate your time here.
Thank you.